Hi, hello, sound check.
Hey guys, are we ready?
Six rounds.
12 races.
Tough competition.
Real racing.
From Bahrain to Saudi Arabia.
Iconic tracks.
And breathtaking destinations.
This is the second season.
This is
The Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East.
we're ready to go.
That's it?
That's it.
From Dubai Autodrome last weekend, we now move an hour's southwest to the Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi as we prepare to kick off the second half of the season for the 2024-25 Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East Championship. It is beautiful conditions, local time this afternoon, round about 1:30. We're getting set for qualifying here at the home of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, one of the premier venues in Grand Prix racing, and all set to go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Scott Woodward in the commentary box, joined once again by last year's rookie champion Porsche Carrera Cup, Robert De Haan. Great to have you in the box again, Robert, for commentary.
Good to see you.
And second half of the season now kicking off, only a week after we were in Dubai for the rounds last time out, and slightly different circuit. This one's more tricky, more technical, more rear limited, bit of a different character than what we had 7 days ago back at the Dubai Autodrome.
Yeah, one interesting track, I would say. Very fast track, like we know this track from Sector 1, Sector 2. Only really fast corners where you just need to lift it, get the rotation on the car, and be as soon as possible back on power, because there's a long straight going on into the next chicane on the back straight. And then we got the last sector going under the bridge. Well, there's a very technical session for the drivers. It takes quite some confidence to be actually on the limit there and get a purple sector out of it.
Well, the drivers have had 2 days of testing here. They've had a free practice session earlier on this morning, produced some quite interesting results. We can't always take all the details of who's going to be quick from that practice session. But that man right there, Janis Stijak, pretty much set the benchmark. How much did he set it? Well, let's put it this way. He set a brand new lap record in pre-practice this morning, 1 minute 54.8 to make him faster than his teammate from last year and the champion last year, Theo Overhaus, who did a 1 minute 54.977. He even beat that time by a fraction in testing yesterday as well. If that's not a benchmark to show that Jana not only is going to go as quick as that, potentially even quicker in this session, he's by far the man to beat. He's the championship leader. Everyone else is going to be chasing him, I think, over this half-an-hour session.
Yeah, definitely. He put it some good bank marks this morning in free practice. Also yesterday definitely showed the speed. Compared to last year, there is being made some small changes on the track. They extended the curbs. So this could be like some possibilities that the track will be a bit quicker. But in the end, he was quite far up the road. So let's see if he can beat it even more this time in qualifying.
Yeah, he was about 0.6 of a second quicker. A little bit of a shorter gap to one of these two drivers here, because they've been pretty impressive the last couple of rounds, and in particular in testing and practice this morning. The two Saudi racing drivers, Saud Al Saud and Khaled Al Akmadi, both of them really showing their stuff and showing what the local GCC region drivers can do. Those cars will certainly be in the mix also. In terms of Jana's rivals for this weekend, of course, the pro drivers, you've got the likes of the British duo, James Wallace and Angus Whiteside, who were second and third in both races respectively. James, I've noticed, is a bit of a demon starter. One thing I noticed from Jana, if there is any weakness to him, his starts could be a little bit better. In both of those races, he wasn't the quickest away from the front row on either occasion. And James, in particular, was able to get the better of him in race one and lead the first few corners. Particularly here, where you've got such a short run towards turn one. The start is all critical. I know they were doing practice starts last night. The only chance to really get the chance to do it, as we see thumbs up from Saud Al Saud. But the start here in particular is going to be critical because it's such a short run. It's not like Dubai when it's kind of a slightly lengthier run towards a more open turn one downhill. This is a sharper left-hander, a sharper braking zone. So getting off the line critically, it's an obvious thing to say, but here in particular is going to be absolutely vital to get at least a good start and a good run through the first few corners.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it will be a track where we need more overtaking possibilities, I would say. With the start going into T5, it's going to be a really, really wide corner for the drivers where many things can happen. You could choose, of course, to defend the line in T5, and well, it will not help you really going on to the back straight, so that will be another fight going into the next chicane there. Or you can choose to just take your normal line, but then the risk is to get overtaken or get an overtake done by somebody from behind in T5, because there's a lot of space. And like we saw the famous corner, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, yeah, it's where it's all happened, really.
I think there were some fans who were a bit sore about that weekend, depending on which side you land on, I suppose, in that sense. But either way, it is a fine circuit. They made some adjustments to it about 2 or 3 years ago. It used to be a slightly even more technical with a couple more chicanes in the mix. That first chicane, that layout still exists, but they kind of straight lined that and go into a more open entry into turn 5 and kind of square the corner off. They changed the layout of what's now turn 9. It used to be a very technical left-right-left section of a chicane. It's now a longer radius, kind of more constant radius, slightly, even more, I'd say slightly banked sort of turn 9 through there. That means that momentum's all key, particularly when you're coming off a very fast section of out of 7 down through 8, and then you're not really braking too much down there, but it's still quite a heavy stop into a relatively medium speed corner. So getting through there cleanly, and also making sure you get a good exit, because they are managing track limits on a few corners, particularly the exit of turn 9. That's going to be critical too, particularly in this session when straying over the white lines one bit too many can be the difference between setting a time that could put you on pole or having it taken away completely. So a good crowd here for this weekend for Abu Dhabi, because we have got quite a few customers and supporters and friends and partners who are here to check things out, and why not? It's beautiful conditions, a beautiful part of the world. You can see in the background here the fantastic setting of a W Hotel and the Marina section here that the cars wander through. It's a magnificent circuit, a magnificent facility, and Robert, it's great to see so many people have turned out even just for qualifying today and the first race later on this afternoon.
Yeah, it's interesting actually to see so many people showing up for Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East. Of course, it's a really nice championship, and the sounds of the cars, it makes the attraction as well. Yeah, driving with no silencers here is going to be very loud, especially looking at Mike Min under the bridge. Yeah, the sound coming off it is just incredible.
I think it's a petrol head's dream when you hear the words no silencers. They are in their loudest form that you'll find in any Carrera Cup Championship here, because effectively they are able to run in this format. They might be a little more muted in some of the European Championships or elsewhere where there are different noise restrictions, but here they can run within reason, as loud as they want, unrestricted, so you get a true appreciation of how good these cars really do sound. First couple of benchmark times are coming in on the board, just outlaps. They don't really count the outlaps too much, but the two cars that have ventured out so far in the early part of this session are this man, Mike Mim, the Bulgarian, who is one of our leading Masters drivers, and Stanislav Minsky, the Kyrgyzstan driver, who is in the mix in car 72 for Team GP Elite. As you can see, you can get around by car, or if you are more nautically inclined, you can get around by the water around the marina as well. Like, it's an easy way to get around, particularly in those marina sections in and around the circuit. It's quite a novel setting for an event. I know when they first launched this circuit back in sort of 2009, the whole setup of it was extraordinary. It was a brand new facility. It kind of set the new standard for Grand Prix Grade 1 venues. Other circuits have taken inspiration from it in some way, shape or form, but this is kind of the original kind of trendsetter, and there really are very few circuits, particularly of this grade, that are like Yas Marina in terms of facility, location, the surrounding settings. It's pretty exciting.
Definitely is, yeah. Of course, it's always been the last round of Formula 1, so it's a very special track. And if you look at the facilities, everything around, it's a mega, and it's really big. And also just looking at the circuit, I had the chance to do some laps myself on the test days earlier, and yeah, especially with this Cup car, it's incredible to drive it.
And certainly plenty of drivers getting lots of experience. We've got a couple of new returning drivers compared to those to add to those that we had in Dubai. We saw a shot of there the two Enrico Fulgenzi team racing cars, an Italian team, regular in Carrera Cup Italia. That squad has also been over here in this region competing in the 24-hour series in the double header of Middle Eastern sort of series championships races, the Dubai 24 hours, and then they were here last weekend at the Abu Dhabi 6 hours. And you see one of their drivers getting themselves ready to go. I think that must be, that's Alessandro Giannoni, I believe. Half Emirati and half, that's actually Al-Habsi, in fact. We'll get on to him in a second. But yes, we've got Alessandro Giannoni, who is half Emirati, half Italian, and the Italian driver, his team, Andrea Girondi. Here's another key driver, though. This is Shihab Al-Habsi, the Omani driver. We've had the history of those before from the likes of Al Faisal and also by Ahmed Al-Hati, who've been in this championship. That's not quite a Porsche, but that's an interesting amphibious machine. Racing on the track and also racing on the water as well, which is quite novel.
Looks interesting.
Certainly. I wonder if Porsche feel inclined to make themselves a more an aquatic car or a car that floats on water. We'll let them mull over that whilst the session goes on. A few more cars venturing out. We've got two of our Masters drivers, Krista Andero from Sweden and Peter Brecker from the Czech Republic, both of which are heading out on track. So car 10, that's the Proton Huber competition car of the Swede Andero, and Peter Brecker for GT Sports Technology, again showcasing the quality of the teams that race in this championship, including the likes of Proton Huber competition, GP Elite, GT Sports Technology, renowned teams in these Carrera Cup cars. So again, like we talked about in Dubai, Robert, this championship brings in not only a multinational driver effort, you've got some 10 different nationalities represented here in this championship this weekend alone, but high quality teams that know these cars practically inside out, that are choosing to run in the Middle East because they see it as beneficial, not just for themselves as a team, but for their customers and for them to keep on racing in the winter, whilst others might still be hibernating until March, April time when the European season starts.
Yeah, and realistically, when you look at the temperatures, the sun is out, blue sky, and that's also the better temperatures where you would like to try things on. Yeah, this time of the year, it's very cold in Europe, and if you then will be testing with those cold temperatures, it's hard to compare that when the actual season starts more in summertime. So yeah, many drivers come here to the Middle East to take this as a preparation for their upcoming season, whatever they're doing.
Trust me, if I know about temperatures, us in the UK, I think we're still in the minuses at the moment. They're desperately chilly and cold, whereas here it's a rather slightly more toastier kind of temperatures in the mid-20s, which is quite nice to see. And even then, it still doesn't feel too warm, which is quite nice in this part of the world. Haven't seen yet many of our fast drivers here. Another driver returning. We haven't seen him since the Bahrain rounds supporting the World Endurance Championship last year. That's Saif Al Amri. Good to have him back in the Rabdan Motorsport car. This is the Emirati-based team. Good to have car number 7 in the mix. He sadly missed Qatar and also the Dubai rounds, but he's back on the grid for this weekend. We're also happy to welcome back on the grid after missing Dubai due to illness, Mark J. Thomas, the Canadian driver who is also back in car 17 in the Masters category, which means that our entry this weekend is a rather healthy 18. So good to see we've got some returning drivers and, of course, everyone that took part of the Dubai rounds as well. In terms of looking back at Dubai and the last rounds, it was pretty much, whilst we wait for some of the other drivers to come out, including Caleb Sumich, who's our Australian driver that's visiting from his exploits in Sprint Challenge Australia and doing a full season of Carrera Cup Australia, I think is his aim this year. It was very much Janis Stiak, once he kind of survived his initial sort of substandard start by his standards, got into the lead, dominated by a few seconds, and of course he was in firmly control of that, so he extended the championship lead even further. His two main rivals, James Wallace and Angus Whiteside, kind of ended up in races of their own, so they're still in second and third place, and Caleb made his own impact. The competition seemed to be more within the Pro-Am category, so the two Saudi racing drivers, Søren Spreng, Alexandra Vateva on top of that as well. Those 4 drivers, eventually in race 2 in particular, found themselves together battling for positions. And so I think, whilst we hope there's going to be a battle, of course, in the Pro class, I think Pro-Am, again, is going to be something that's going to be in the mix. And look at the practice times, and you'll know, being her kind of driver coach, I think this lady right here, Alexandra Vateva, 6th quickest in practice this morning, and some pretty impressive times, almost into the 1:55. So I think if she hooks up on the set of tyres she's got, there's every potential she could get a really strong starting spot for race 1 this afternoon.
Yeah, after yesterday, 2 test days, we had some good debriefs, and yeah, she definitely showed this morning that she was fully prepared and ready for qualifying. She did a good job in the last actual lap of the session. She put it the 56.1 in, what made her up to B6, B3 in the Pro-Am category. And even though she said there was still some time in the books, that hopefully she can bring out even more now in qualifying.
Well, if there is any more times, it'll put her into 55s, and that could put her amongst some of the Pro Class cars and the Saudi drivers too. So if she can find that time in this session and use some of the data, I'm sure you guys have debriefed between free practice and now to even learn more time. If she can get into the 55s, that will certainly put her into a top 5 position, and that will actually give her her best qualifying result so far, because her best qualifying position to date, or starting spot to date, is Qatar in race 2, where she started 6th, but in that weekend she also qualified 7th in the actual combined qualifying session that set the times for race 1 and 2. So if she can break into the top 5, again, clear progress that she's making. And I remember that one thing we were talking about is that she needed a bit more confidence, not just under brakes, but also being prepared to get her elbows out and be a bit more aggressive. Do you think that she's made that progress now and is getting more into that mindset between the time that you've had between Dubai and Abu Dhabi now?
Definitely she's getting more confidence in the car. It's good that we had 2 test days here for Abu Dhabi, so she has done many laps. And yeah, of course, it's only her actual second year of racing, you know, and the first year in racing a cup car without ABS only started 3 months ago. And the progress she's made until now, it's impressive, and she's still improving, of course. Confidence needs to build up, so especially what I said earlier, the last sector, sector 3, is really a sector where you need to have many confidence to drive the car on the limit, and step by step we are getting there.
So whilst she prepares to go out, several other drivers do also. This is Mark J. Thomas. You mentioned him missing out on Dubai due to illness, but his silver Porsche with the multicoloured yellow, blue and red striping on the car, the colours of the branding M3L Services Limited. That car will be heading out very shortly. And so this circuit will have also been quite heavily rubbered in over the last few days. They'll have had F4 Middle East and Formula Regional Middle East racing all around this layout and the corkscrew layout as well, as we look at Alexandra Bateva. Door open, keeping cool before she heads out for her qualifying laps, with around about roughly 18.5 minutes still to go. So this circuit will have had plenty of laps, not just from the Carrera Cup cars, but from essentially from 4 sets of races, from 2 single-seater championships, laying down plenty of rubber. So I imagine that by this point now, this will be quite literally the grippiest this circuit has been in the last couple of weekends, because of all the rubber that's been laid down, all the racing that's been done. So I'm expecting quick times here, particularly if Jana Stiek's in form to lap just in practice below the lap record time. If he can go even quicker, it genuinely wouldn't surprise me if he manages to go faster than 154.8.
Yeah, it's definitely true. We already saw that during yesterday towards the end of the day, everyone putting new tires, so this only makes a bigger layer of rubber on the track, what helps of course the grip of the cars and only makes it quicker. We also saw that on the times. That's why Jana were beating actually the track record from last year's champion. So let's see what he can do now in qualifying. I would be expecting the track would be even a bit quicker again.
Yeah, and I double-checked with the guys at Porsche and their partners who are running the championship at Lechner Racing, and they did say that apparently with that record, if you the times in free practice do also count towards it. So essentially, Jan Stiek has now got the lap record. He broke it this morning in practice, so if he can go even quicker, we'll see. There is Shihab Al-Habsi, the Omani driver. If you know your historic liveries or throwback liveries, you'll appreciate that his Porsche looks something along the lines of a Group C sports car that won in the late 80s at Le Mans, which have a logo of a big cat on it, obviously, and that side of things. And that car looking very resplendent in its white, yellow and purple livery, looking very much like an old-school Le Mans winner. So good to see there's some good inspiration on that car. Alessandro Giannoni in one of the 2 Enrico Fulgenzi cars is also on an out lap heading out the circuit. Everyone else waiting patiently for their moment. And we saw this as a trend, particularly in the first session for qualifying 1 in Dubai. Everyone just trying to let in the first few cars again, lay some more rubber down, waiting patiently, because they only get 2 sets of tyres throughout a race weekend. So ultimately, it's down to, and they would have used whatever tyres they wanted to use this morning as well, and been careful. That's why also, not only can we not judge too much from practice, but also the fact that from practice this morning, drivers are going to be managing their tyres all the way through today. They'll most likely go to their second set, save it for tomorrow for qualifying and then the race. But we saw it in particular as well, not just with people going late out in the second half of the session, but also for some drivers in the second half of race 1 as well. The fact they got to that point in the race, the tyres been quite worn, and those who looked after them came better in terms of pace in the second half of the race. So again, on a circuit like this, which is very rear limited, lots of traction zones in particular, big heavy braking stops on here too, this is a circuit where, compared to Dubai, that was a mix of front and rear limited, it's another one that's crucial. Time management is going to be oh so critical, particularly with this nature of the circuit. Is a little more technical, tighter, and a little harsher on tyres, particularly those rears out to these slower corners like turn 16.
Yeah, definitely true. Very fast corners if you compare this track to Dubai. So during a race, it will definitely ask more from the tires, and then it will be just the game like who can manage the tires the best towards the end of the race. Yeah, we will see who will be the best in that later today, but let's see what they can do now in qualifying, where they have just to take the maximum out of the tire and put the best lap in they can do.
Just watching Krista Andero doing that as well. Of course, a regular in the Carrera Cup Scandinavia Championship, has done for several seasons. As we look now to Shahab Al-Habsi, who is not quite put a banker lap in the lap times just yet. He's still warming his tyres up. Quite ironic given the fact where we are in the world and the part of the world, the temperatures that we have and the weather that we've got around here this weekend. You can see, compared to Dubai, where there were a few clouds hanging around, there is complete blue sky, not a cloud in the air whatsoever. What I would call almost perfect weather conditions for motorsport this weekend, particularly in this part of the world. And so Shahab Al-Habsi makes his way in towards the turn 5 hairpin. You can see it's more open entry, slightly tighter late apex on the exit, and then there's long drag almost up and then downhill on this back straight. They're going to be touching over 150 miles an hour before they hit the brakes from 6th gear all the way down to 1st. And that's going to be a critical not only overtaking opportunity, but that's going to be a real punishing on brakes as well on top of that. And that could potentially be not just an overtaking spot. I don't like talking about incidents, but it could potentially be a possible incident spot. We hope it isn't, but of course it's a big stop from 250 down to something like 50, 60 kilometers an hour through those turns 6 and 7. So how critical is it going to be to make sure that under brakes, not only have you got good brakes and good temperature in the tyres, but this car is also in the setup stable under braking when you're hitting the pedal from such a high speed to such a slow speed in a short space of time in that braking zone.
Yeah, definitely, and of course need to remember every driver is trying to drive the car on the limit, so every driver going into that chicane is going to try and brake at the 170-60 meter ball. So then you as a driver behind always need to make the step later if you want to go for the move, and then still trying to stop the car is going to be a really, really hard job. But yeah, some drivers get it done, some don't, and luckily there's enough escape road on the exit, so
Well, they're both monitoring track limits, but of course, hopefully drivers don't have to use that too much, particularly if they're going too deep into turns 6 and 7. But we'll see how that one goes, particularly on the first lap when everyone's all bunched together. Here's Angus Whiteside, last year's Carrera Cup GB Pro-Am champion. It's his first season of racing anything internationally outside of the UK. It's almost hard to believe. He's only been racing for some... I'll speak when I can get it right. 4 full seasons. Trying to say that fast 5 times. 4 full seasons. Started racing circuits back in 2021. He was a rookie champion in the Genesis GT Academy. Joined the Porsche family from 2022 onwards. And of course, last year was that Pro-Am title. This is his first championship outside of the UK. And has had some podiums and had done a good job so far in this championship. Of course, he's running as one of the 3 cars that's in this championship, being run this weekend at least by Proton Huber Competition. Teammates Krista Andero and of course this weekend as well Shihab Al-Habsi, giving them some extra little bit of data to work with here as well. Practice, he kind of sat back a little bit in the practice session. He was deeper down in the top 10, but again, might have just been him conserving tyres ahead of qualifying, so we'll see. But Angus, certainly another one, Rob, to watch out for, considering his pace at Qatar and where he's been most of the season. So I'd be surprised if he's not up there in the top 5, setting a decent lap time or two to get himself in the mix for, again, a potential podium, if not a strong top 5 to give him a good solid points haul.
yeah, of course it's hard to say to look at the rest from this morning free practice. Some drivers have put new tires on for that session, and not everyone did. So what I heard is that Jana was driving on new tires, but then I feel like Agnes maybe saved the tire set for another time later in the season.
And I wonder if that's a key thing, because if Jana did go on newer tyres this morning and use it a lot, as Shahab Al-Habsi almost completely ruins that right front under braking for the W Hotel sections. They turn him through turns 11 and 12 and into 13. But if he has used his tyres a little more in practice this morning on newer tyres, I wonder if that's going to have an effect in lap time. He'll be up there at the front, and I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes pole, but maybe the margin of pole might not be so big, whereas we're used to seeing him in front by 6, 7, 8 tenths of a second. If he has used his tyres a bit more than others in this qualifying session, he might still be on pole, but the gap might be even shorter than we'd expect.
Yeah, we will see. We will see what drivers can do. Of course, maybe someone else will be on pole position. We will know it in 11 minutes time. But definitely the track is quick. Everyone is here to win the race and get the maximum out of it. So I'm quite sure everyone will be pushing to the limit.
Well, now we're getting the majority of the field. They're all coming out to play now with about 11, 12 minutes to go. just shy of that as they come on track. We're looking here, another huge lock-up, this time on the other side for Shihab Al-Habsi. So that's his front tyres almost completely ruined. He'll have flat spots on front of him, which means it might even be causing, he does that too many times, so just vibrations as he goes down the back straight.
He'll be definitely feeling that now down the straight.
Yeah, not just new tyres. You might need to visit the dentist after with his teeth chattering down the back straight with 1 or 2 flat spots. So we've only got 5 kind of what you call proper lap times coming in. The rest are all on out laps or on their first proper laps at the moment. In terms of the fastest sectors, interesting enough so far, the one that's on a lap at the moment and setting the fastest first sector, Alessandro Giannone, who's in one of the 2 Enrico Fulgenzi cars. That's just him going out of turn 6 and 7, almost tripping over the number 5 car of Zurich Spring, who is the Carrera Cup Germany Pro-Am champion. So here is Giannone down towards turn 9. This is the reprofiled section here at the end of sector 2. Not the absolute fastest that he's gone in sector 2, but still a solid sector nonetheless. I did also see when we were talking there that Janusz Stiak is now out on track, and he had James Wallace right underneath his rear wing as he came out. Those 2 are far away from each other usually in terms of the standings. Again, it's Giannone just picking his way through traffic as Shihab Al-Habsi moves out of the way, turning his way out through the W Hotel underneath that fantastic architectural structure. And now through the last couple of corners of 15 and 16 into the end of another lap. Currently the fastest time in the session right now, although definitely won't stay that, is a 1:56.921. And Giannone comes across the line and sets a 1:56.773 to put himself fastest in the session so far. But I'm certain, given the times we've already seen, and everyone else has yet to set times mostly too much, he won't stay that for long. I think we're going to see a massive flurry of, as we are seeing now, green sectors and purple sectors across the board as people start to really wind it up to get a quick lap time through in this session.
Yeah, definitely. People are now just trying to warm the tyres. 8 minutes left. It will be still same track like or similar conditions like Dubai. You have to prepare the tyre very well to get the optimum out of it in the peak lap of the tyres. And I think Janne will be only doing 1 push lap, doing everything in 1 lap, and after that the tyres will be dropping for at least 3 to 4 tenths. So then it's better to just block the car, save the tyres for the race, and hopefully on a P1 then.
And fingers crossed he has enough tyre left in him to get a better start than he had done at Dubai. So we'll wait and see how his session progresses. No one else, even though they're all setting, it's a sea of green first sector, so everyone's pushing on their first proper flying laps you'd expect. No one else yet going to a fastest first sector to beat the effort that so far Giannone has set in his first sector, but I'm certain that a few more will. And that's his teammate going for a loop around. That was Andrea Girondi, the Italian, his teammate who's had a spin at turn 5, but rejoined. Yeah, so that was Girondi having a rotation down at the hairpin, but he's managed to carry on drama-free. There is, we saw him briefly there for a second, Khaled Al-Akmadi, and that is Alessandro Giannone, the current provisional pole sitter, also going for a spin. So you'd have thought, given the fact that these guys have done 6 hours worth of running around this circuit, that they'd be able to get around the lap without having a half spin.
The pressure is building up now. Everyone wants to get the maximum out of it, so they're pushing it to the limit like we can see. So of course they need to maybe do 1 step back, because over pushing the car is really easy, and then things of this will happen. And once you start over pushing the car, it will only affect the tyres even more, and you will lose more lap time.
Well, we'll learn that in a moment. James Wallace just moving out of the way of Mark J. Thomas. In terms of lap times, we've now got a new fastest first sector from Angus Whiteside, 24.662, so we can pick up on car 52, the black and purple machine, the Proton Hoover competition run car. Whilst he carries on in his lap, we're looking at Banksy here. And for those who are watching in the UK, no, I don't mean the mysterious British artist who paints stop signs and all sorts of different things that he posts out when he's anonymous to most people. This is a different Banksy, regular in Porsche Carrera Cup Japan. He's got a couple of very strong mentors, and great to have him in the championship. Took both of the Masters victories last time at Dubai, and he will be hoping to try and take more of those. Here is Angus Whiteside, and now through turns 12 and 13, back under the W Hotel once again. He has set a purple sector 2. Al-Akmadi's gone fastest in the session now with a fastest third sector, 43.8. And he's also now in his current lap, Al-Akmadi, gone fastest in the first sector, so faster only just by about 0.04 of a second from Angus Whiteside. And Angus then turns his way out of turn 16 onto the pit straight, punches it across the line, and he goes fastest in the session. And now we're starting to see some real fast times come in now. 155.735. In terms of the pole contenders, Rob, I think that's the initial benchmark everyone's got to aim for. A 155.7, that's what they've got to gun for.
I think once you get in those 155s, you can secure yourself for a top 5 overall. Yeah. So once you get that 1.55 on the dash, I think you can be quite satisfied with that.
And that may prompt one or two drivers to say, right, I've done my lap now, and I'm going to be in that sort of front 3 rows of the grid. I'm going to leave it for the session and come in. There's a yellow flag down at turn 6. That's at the end of this long back straight. Doesn't indicate exactly who the cause of that was, but their flag's now been withdrawn. So whoever it was going for a spin or running wide has quickly rejoined. Looking at Alak Mardi now, fastest first sector. That's now been personal best second sector. He's down to third now because Shihab Al-Habsi's popped in a 156.622. So that's an interesting lap from the Omani driver. And intriguing that he's done that despite having essentially put flat spots on both of his front tyres earlier on. So the fact he's been able to manage that despite some of the damage he's done to those tyres, I have to say, is actually rather impressive. Alak Mardi out of the final corner. He's got a 56.7 to beat to go quicker. Across the line he goes and goes top 55.6. So again going quick. Whiteside now responding. He's now gone fast in the second sector. This is like a boxing match between two fighters. It's punch and counter punch in the sectors. But I'm certain now that James Wallace has now gone fastest in the first sector, that he's matched Angus Whiteside's best second sector. Caleb Sumich has also gone fastest in the final sector as well. Now we're seeing the time screen start to light up. And what's interesting also, Janusz Stiak goes across the line, not fastest, 155.688. Did set the fastest final sector, but he's 16 thousandths of a second slower than Alak Mardi. 4 minutes to go, unless he pulls out another Banzai lap, which I think we possibly have got in him. But if that's his one and only lap, Rob, are we about to see a rare occasion where Janusz Stiak is not on pole position?
Yeah, let's see what James Wallace is doing, going for a purple sector 2 as well, going into the last corner now. Definitely, I think he's going for another push lap. Yeah, there we are, purple sector 1 for Janusz Stiak. So let's see if he can finish that lap off cleanly and what lap time he can do out of that. Like we just see James Wallace had a small mistake, I think, going into the last sector. But he's going for another lap.
He's going for another lap. We've got 3.5 minutes left to go in the session, as you can see at the top of the screen. So Alak Mardi then currently on provisional pole position. He's done a personal best in sector 2 on this lap, but Janusz Stiak is pushing on. Fastest first sector of the session. There's a yellow flag at turn 4 on our tour to our timing screen, but this man is beyond that. Up towards turn 9, the end of sector 2. What does this second sector give us? Is it purple? The answer is... Of course it is. It's Janusz Stiak, 47.273. So it looks like he possibly is about to go onto pole position. I guess the question is, if he hooks this final sector up, by how much is it going to happen? But we'll wait and see. Saudar Saud has just popped into 6th fastest, so he will go to a 155.832. And Zoran Spreng has now found some pace. He wasn't that quick in free practice and in testing, but he's managed to find something and go 6th fastest. So up he goes. And you're right about James Wallace. A mistake in that final sector has left him down in 14th. He's on a personal best on this lap so far in the first sector. Not a personal best in sector 2, so he's struggling a little bit in this lap. Sumich goes fastest, but that won't last for long. Across the line goes Janusz Stiak. Does he go pole? Of course he does. Even quicker than free practice this morning again. He set another new lap record. So that's 154.792. So for practically 3 sessions in a row, he's broken the lap record 3 times, which is incredible. Only by bit, but a lap record's a lap record. Pole position, and at the front of the field by just over half a second.
Yeah, definitely. Good lap time by him. Fastest lap I've actually seen on the boards during the last 2 test days was done by a driver coach, but that was a 54.4. That was really impressive as well. But for now, track record name on Janusz Stiak.
Definitely so. Impressive effort. Angus Whiteside, I think, has just gone up to 5th with his last effort. So he's had a time reinstated, interesting enough. Car 7, which is Saif Al-Amri, has had his time deleted because of track limits. Only a minute and a half to go as we watch Banksy make his way out through 12, 13 and 14. Again, under the W Hotel goes the Japanese driver. Looking at the running order at the moment, Janusz Stiak fastest, Caleb Sumich 2nd, James Wallace has now popped up to 3rd, and he's on a personal best at the moment in sector 1. For Khaled Alak Mardi, and then Angus Whiteside, and then Saudar Saud. Across the line goes Banksy, moves up to 11th on a 56.783. pretty congested there in that sort of mid-pack range. A lot of cars in 56s and high 55s in there. So
it's really, really close, as you can see on the lap times. And now also looking at my own driver, really putting a green sector 1, so hopefully she can fit that together for another green sector, sector 2. Yeah, a lot of drivers in the 55s actually. The whole top 6 is in the 55s, and 55.7 from Agnes Whiteside, and after that it's a 56.1 from Sonnenspring. So to make the step into the top 5 is quite some time, and as we see, Alexandra is doing a green sector 2, so hopefully she can get that last sector together, and let's see where we end up in the end of this lap.
She's making her way now through this section through the W Hotel. You're absolutely right, she's on a personal best in sectors 1 and 2. Solid lap so far for the young Bulgarian. Currently sat in 8th fastest as Angus Whiteside completely ignores the track. He's off the road at turn 6 and 7, but he's rejoined safely enough. Alexandra Vateva, meanwhile, will come across the line. We're looking at Angus Whiteside, and we're still watching the timing screens for any more change. Janis Stiak was on a fastest final sector, and as for Alexandra Vateva, it does move up. She's now into 7th place, and she's broken into the 55s as well. She was close in free practice, 56.1, now 55.9. That's her best lap of the weekend, and it puts her now on row 4, and she's now 3rd fastest of the Pro-Am cars. She's only, well, she's 2/10 quicker than Soren Spreng. She's only 2/10 off the cars in front of her. So again, a couple of tenths can make all the difference. But again, impressive lap time. I think that will equal her best grid position set by a lap time rather than by race position. So equals best in 7th at the moment, unless anyone else improves.
Like we luckily, so I think she was just in time, and she's actually going for another lap. Not finished yet. Green sector 1 again for her. So hopefully she can get that last 2/10 out. She only needs 2/10 in a bit, and that's already would be B6 on the B5 even. As you can see, only 2/10 quicker. It's a 55.6, and we'll put her on P5, P1 Pro-Am if that could work.
We'll keep an eye on this as we watch through. Checker flag is out. Janis Stiak has pretty much done all the laps that he needs to. Sumic is not improving in 2nd place. James Wallace has gone to 3rd on a personal best. He was green in all 3 sectors, so he's gone to the 2nd row of the grid. You'll have Khaled Alakmadi, who could go quicker if he gets this last lap, end of this lap correct, because he is 4th at the moment in the best of the Saudi racing cars, so he could go quicker. Vateva is also quicker again in sector 2. She's got a little bit of traffic in front, but it moves out of the way nicely. So Khaled Alakmadi continues on, and he'll see if he can go any quicker. But we're watching Alexandra Vateva, who is currently setting quick sectors that are, I have to say, it's even quicker than the personal best 2nd sector of Alakmadi as well. She lost some time in the 1st sector, but a better 2nd sector than a couple of the cars in front of her. So if she just nails these last 2 corners, she could even jump up onto the 3rd row ahead of Angus Whiteside.
Going into the last corner, hopefully you can stick it all together. Didn't lose too much time on the driver's shed to overtake.
Nice and tidy out of the final corner, across the line she goes, and she stays 7th, lost some time in the final sector, but it is a better lap. No, it's not a better lap time, it was a 56.4, but still 7th on the grid, inside the 56 when finished now. So I think both for her and for yourself, as being the driver coach, that's actually a really solid effort in qualifying.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, definitely. I think we can be happy with this one. Jumping out of the car, I think she will be happy as well. Looking at the times, B3 Pro-Am in our category, and yeah, definitely finally reached the 55s, and still got to remember always, like, she's expecting a lot from herself, and obviously she's here to win. But realistically looking, if you look at Janis Stiak already driving this car for 3 years, not Career Cup Germany, some Super Cup rounds, and a Career Cup Italy. And then when you look at Alexandra, she's only coming from sports car with ABS, and actually her 1st season without ABS traction control and driving between the big guys.
Yeah, impressive stuff. We'll see what she can do later on in the race this afternoon. I love how Janis Stiak got out of the car and looked around and went, is that it? Am I done? Am I on pole? And everyone just nodding around them. Yep, you've done it. And again, new lap record once more, 154.774. It puts him nearly 6/10 clear of everyone else. So Janis Stiak then will look to aim to get his 6th win from 7th races if he can this afternoon, when race number 1 of the weekend at Yas Marina gets underway. Caleb Sumic, though, I think, is also another impressive effort. The young Australian driver who's raced in Porsche Sprint Challenge. Did a handful of rounds last year towards the end of the season in Porsche Carrera Cup Australia. Picked up a top 10 at Surfers Paradise. So he's now looking pretty impressive. He's another Porsche junior, and he's also done pretty well to put that car on the front row. James Wallace, 3rd fastest, starting physically right behind Janis Stiak on the 2nd row. Khaled Alakmadi wins the duel of the Saudi racing drivers, 4th and 5th quickest for them. Al Saudi in 5th. And Angus Whiteside in 6th. Alexandra Vateva, that's got to be, I think, her best, not just the best qualifying position from a lap time, I think in general her best qualifying performance of the season so far, genuinely. 7th fastest, ahead of Soren Spreng. Shihab Al-Habsi also in there as well, just behind half a second back. And then Alessandro Giannone, even though that car's not scoring points, and neither is Al-Habsi or Girondi, because they're both here as essentially guests. But Shihab Al-Habsi, in his first weekend of a championship in that car, to get a 9th quickest time ahead of Giannone in 10th is looking pretty impressive. And I think also that means that Giannone takes the Masters pole on top of Banksy. Well, here's the results of qualifying then. And as we mentioned, Janusz Stiak once again on pole position, and again setting a brand new championship lap record in the process. 1:54.774. He's on pole by 5.5 tenths from Caleb Sumich, the young Australian who's only racing in these rounds in Dubai and Yas Marina, but making a big impact ahead of a full season of Carrera Cup Australia this year. James Wallace will start in 3rd on the grid in row 2 after going 3rd fastest in qualifying, ahead of Khaled Al-Ahmadi and Saud Al-Sal, the 2 Saudi racing Porsches, to round up the top 5. Angus Whiteside might be a bit disappointed with P6, but he's got some work to do from row 3. Alexandra Vateva, one of her most impressive qualifying performances, she will start 7th on the 4th row alongside Zoran Spreng. And then it's Shihab Al-Habsi and Alessandro Giannone, 2 newcomers to the championship this weekend, who will round out the top 10. Double Dubai winner in the Masters class, Banksy, will start 11th fastest, ahead of Krista Andro in 12th. Then it's Peter Brecker and Mike Mim on 13th and 14th fastest. Andreas Girondi rounds out the top 15 in 15th. And then Saif Al-Amri, Mark J. Thomas and Stanislav Minsky round out our 18-car field for this weekend. And looking at the times, essentially the first 12 cars are separated by just over 2 seconds. It might seem like a lot in motorsport terms, but particularly that mid-pack is going to be particularly battling through the top 10, very congested. That's just ultimate lap time pace. In terms of actual race pace, they might be quite even more close together in terms of lap time with full of fuel and whatever tyre life they've got within them. So I think even though, yes, the likes of Stiak and Sumich and Wallace are going to be the ones that will probably drive off into the distance and be the favourites for victory, when you look at the cars down behind them from, let's say, include 3rd downwards, Al-Ahmadi, Al-Saud, Whiteside, Vateva, Spreng, Al-Habsi, those drivers in the mix from, 3rd down to 9th, that could be a really fascinating midfield battle in that top 10 to get positions, not just overall, but you've got also in there as well, I think, a very congested battle for podium positions in that pro-am class as well, particularly when you've got so many contenders that could realistically get onto that podium, possibly behind the 2 Saudi drivers. But even then, Robert, if they make mistakes, the likes of Vateva, Spreng, Al-Habsi, they're going to be right there to pounce if either of them make a mistake.
Definitely, really looking forward to the race tonight. Really close lap times from everyone from top 7 to top 3 onwards, so could be an interesting battle in the race later tonight. I will prepare Alexandra very well for the race to show where the overtake possibilities would be, and hopefully she can get herself up to the field.
And she was pretty aggressive at the start of the second race in Dubai, so she was listening to you, clearly.
Yeah.
So she can carry that on and take the risk, calculated risk where she needs to. I'm sure she can start to move up and make up a couple of places and take full advantage of it, and hopefully replicate her form from Qatar, where she got a top 5 and 2 class podiums as well. So James Wallace then has got some work to do from 3rd on the grid, but we've seen how quick he can start off the line. If he can get a good launch and possibly even shoot the gap between Stiak and Sumich, if they can't get a good launch from the front row, he could even be in the mix to make it a 3-car scrap for the lead into the first few corners. And James, of course, being the Porsche GB Junior, he's got every chance to do that. We've seen the starts that he's made through Qatar, through Bahrain, and also through Dubai as well. He's one of the quickest guys off the line. If those 2 guys in front of him don't move quick enough, he will snap them up in a few milliseconds, just like that.
Yeah, we need to remember as well, Caleb Sumich starting in V2 is actually on the inside for T1 here, so if he just gets that better launch than Jano off the start, then he could be already in the lead.
In terms of any other ones down the top 10, etc., I mean, I think one of the big surprises to being lower down than we think they probably should be, probably Angus Whiteside in P6. He was on the podium a couple of times in both races at Dubai, back down in P6, went off the road a couple of times out braking himself. Struggling a bit with setup, with tyres, or just not able to get a good lap in the traffic? What do you think might have contributed to him being as low down as he is? He's not low down the grid, but still lower than he would expect to be.
Well, with the temperatures like they are, it's really crucial to do everything right in one lap. You have to prepare the tyres, and when the tyres are there, you need to be on it. Green, 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 or the best way would be purple, 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 of course, like we saw Jana doing. And after he did this purple, 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 54.7, straight away boxed the car, because he knew that's it from the tyres. So if you make that little mistake when the peak is there of the tyres, you just lose that last 3 tenths that you actually need to be up the front row.
Well, hopefully he can try and pick his way through. And finally, shout out we should give, of course, is to the Masters category. I think we could get quite a fascinating battle between Alessandro Giannone and Banksy. If you look at their lap times, there's only 100th of a second in it between the 2 of them, and they're going to be starting 10th and 11th directly behind, around each other on the grid. You've got the likes also of Krista Andra, who's not too far away, Peter Brecker, Mike Mim, who has been a long-time leader in the points for Masters. So again, alongside the other two classes, Pro might be something of a foregone conclusion if Stiak runs away with it. We know how competitive Pro-Am's going to be. I think as well Masters could surprise as well with how competitive that looks, particularly if Giannoni can step up, take that 10th place and take the fight to Banksy, who was pretty much the class of the field at Dubai last weekend.
Yeah, Banksy did a really well job last week in Dubai. Of course, we have the newcomer now, Alessandro Gironi. Will be an interesting battle between them, but I think it definitely makes it better having 18 cars on the grid instead of 13.
It does. It's going to make the first couple of laps very interesting and very exciting to watch as well. Well, that's qualifying complete. Again, as we say, Janis Stiak, no surprise to see him on pole, but still, not only does he do so, but he sets a brand new lap record yet again for the second time this weekend after practice this morning. He will start from pole once again, but he's got the likes of Caleb Sumich and James Wallace, two very fast young drivers around him also who could beat him off the line as well. The Pro-Am battle looks to be pretty tasty. Both the Saudi drivers in the mix, Alexandra Vateva, Soren Spring and Shihab Al-Habsi will also be in contention for that podium, and the Masters battle could also be between Alessandro Giannoni, Banksy and those around him. Robert, once again, thank you ever so much for being part of the qualifying session. Best of luck to your team and your guys in the mix as well. And from all of us here so far at Yas Marina, we're looking forward to the race in roughly round about just shy of about 2 hours 20 minutes time. So be sure to join us back here on YouTube and of course around the circuit if you're watching. But for myself, Scott Woodward, from Robert DeHaan and all of us here at Yas Marina, thanks for watching and join us for race 1 of round 4 of the Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East 24-25 here on YouTube from Yas Marina. We'll see you then for more Porsche action.
Thank you very much.
Hi, hello, sound check.
Hey guys, are we ready?
Six rounds.
12 races.
Tough competition.
Real racing.
From Bahrain to Saudi Arabia.
Iconic tracks.
And breathtaking destinations.
This is the second season.
This is
The Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East.
We're ready to go.
That's it?
That's it.